Something is going on with Calgary. The population is surging and hundreds of thousands of people have moved into the province and the city in just the past few years. Now, what's causing this massive movement? Is it because of the natural beauty where the prairies meet the Rockies? Is it because of jobs, the economy, or the oil and gas sector? There are lots of reasons why Calgary is a great place to live, but there are some negatives as well, if I'm being honest. But I think making this move might be the best decision of your life, and in this video, I'll explain why. And starting off, I'll give you an overview of Calgary. We are located in Western Canada, and we're kind of off on our own in a bit of an isolated location. Looking at the map, you wouldn't think that it would be such a hot city to move to, but that's definitely not the case. Our current population is about 1.6 million people, and I bet within the next 5 years, we'll probably crack 2 million people. We're also known for our oil and gas economy. We have some of the largest oil reserves in the entire world in Alberta. We're known for our hot economy, our high standard of living, and actually Calgary is routinely voted as one of the top cities in the entire world to live in. And lastly, we are known for our natural scenery. We're kind of located in a place where the Badlands, prairies, foothills, and mountains all come together, and it can be quite stunning. So, many people are moving to Calgary because of our economy. Yeah, we are an oil and gas town, but that's not all that we're about. At the moment, oil and gas contributes about 30% of Calgary's GDP. Other than that, we have a strong real estate sector. We've got construction, tourism, manufacturing, and Calgary is also a bit of a white-collar corporate city with lots of professional type jobs. So you'll see banking, insurance, finance, legal services, business consulting. The list goes on. And there's also a growing tech sector in Calgary that I think is pretty exciting. And this is why many companies are deciding to move to Calgary and use the city as their headquarters. Now, what does this mean for the average person out there? I would say the mindset in Calgary is just different compared to other parts of Canada. It's just a very optimistic place. There's hope, there's optimism, and a chance to get ahead in life. And that's what the Alberta Advantage is all about. Now, it's quite rare to meet someone like myself that was born and raised in Alberta. It seems like everyone here is from somewhere else in Canada or from overseas, and they're deciding to make Calgary their home. It really is a multicultural city, and people are moving here from all over the place because of the opportunity. Now, if I'm speaking to you, give me a call. I can help you out. Now, I'd be lying to you if I didn't mention that there are some legitimate downsides with our economy here in Calgary. In the past, we were heavily reliant on the oil and gas sector. Nowadays, we have diversified a little bit, so not quite as reliant, but it still affects every industry in the province. And we can have some crazy up and down swings in our economy here in the city. And what does this mean for regular people out there? I would say that in Calgary, our workforce, it just isn't as protected as in other parts of this country. And by that, I mean, you don't really come across too many provincial or federal government employees in Calgary, or unionized workers as well. It's a very corporate workforce. And with the cycles, when things are great, companies are hiring, everything is fantastic. But when the market does turn around, you will see layoffs in Calgary. And from 2015 to 2020 were our recession years in the city. And it was quite common to meet someone that used to be in oil and gas and now they're working at a bank or a gym or in sales somewhere. So it's just the way that it is in Calgary. It is a bit of a boom and the bust type economy. But I think over time, as we diversify even more, the ups and downs won't be as severe. And I will mention that Calgary always seems to bounce back as well. And the last point to mention about the economy is that Alberta has the highest wages in the country, and we also have the lowest taxes in the country, and we don't have a provincial sales tax here. So what you make and what you keep might be an improvement from where you're coming from, and that's what we call the Alberta Advantage. And next up, let's talk about living in Calgary and the cost of real estate. Now, Calgary by no means is a cheap city. But if we look at markets like Southern Ontario and British Columbia, it is definitely way cheaper in Calgary versus those two markets. Let's face it, Toronto and Vancouver are some of the most expensive markets in the entire world. But Calgary is a place that many people could move to and have a good quality of life. And it's definitely attainable to buy a property here, even on a single income. Now, again, what does this mean for the regular person out there? So just imagine this situation. You're living close to downtown Vancouver or Toronto, and you have to spend $1 million to buy a 500 square foot condo with 1 bedroom and 1 den. Now, that doesn't sound like too much fun to me. Now, imagine that you have a wife, you've got kids, you've got a cat and a dog, and you're both working from home in a 500 square foot condo. I would go insane. I couldn't do that. So maybe you go further out from the core, and now you're commuting 1 to 2 hours each way. every single day and you're spending $4,000 a month on rent for a property that you don't own, that's tough living if you ask me. And this is why Calgary is becoming a very attractive option for many people around Canada. Just the costs in this country have become too expensive, and Calgary is becoming a viable option for lots of people. Now, let's look into this in more detail. So you have the person that wants to buy a $1 million condo with one bed, one den, close to downtown Toronto or Vancouver. What can you get in Calgary for $1 million? Now, mind you, our market has kind of exploded since COVID. So 1 million is not the same as it used to be, but it still gets you way more than in those markets. I would say that Vancouver and Toronto are at least 2 to 3 times more expensive than Calgary. So $1 million here can buy you a property in a very nice neighborhood. It's probably 2,500 to 3,000 square feet above grade, 3 or 4 bedrooms above grade, maybe an office on the main level, probably a fully finished basement. You get a fenced yard. I would say at least a double attached garage. It might be brand new or at least renovated. And again, it's in a very nice neighborhood in the city, and that's for $1 million. So your money just goes way further in Calgary than in those markets. And I think it's important to mention that you can get all of this and have everything be within one city and easy to get to. So you're not traveling from Vancouver to Burnaby to Coquitlam to Port Coquitlam to Port Moody to Maple Ridge, or from Toronto to Barrie or whatnot. Everything is located within Calgary, and it's easy to get around the city. I can be downtown in 20 minutes. I can be in the airport in 20 minutes. Everything is not that far. You're not spending your whole life commuting from one point to another. It's just easy living in Calgary. So not only do we have cheaper real estate, we've got cheaper rent, we've got no land transfer tax, which is a huge cost in places like Ontario. There's no provincial sales tax. Our salaries are generally higher, so it's just easier to get ahead in a place like Calgary. And by the way, if you are thinking of moving to Calgary and would like to talk to someone, I've been a licensed real estate agent here in Calgary for the past 12 years, and I'm a born and raised Albertan, and I've helped many people relocate to Calgary. I've got some free resources for you if you want some more information. If you look in the pinned comment or the written description, I have a buyer's guide, a seller's guide, and a relocation guide. And if you further explore my YouTube channel, I've got about 120 videos all about living in Calgary and Calgary real estate. And my plan is to make about 2 to 3 videos per week if I have the time to do it. I've been quite busy lately. So please check it out and reach out. Call, text, email. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and I'd love to help you with your relocation plans. So for the most part, Calgary is definitely a good place to live, but there are some negatives to living in Calgary. It's definitely a bit of a slower paced life compared to maybe Vancouver or Toronto. And the downtown core is not as lively as those two cities as well. I think a lot of people work downtown, and then when the business day is over, they go out to the suburbs, and the downtown becomes a bit of a ghost town. Now, there are some pockets that will stay lively into the evening, but it's not like Queen Street West or downtown Vancouver, not nearly that lively. But I think it is changing over time as we get more density in the inner city and our population is growing. But it's definitely not as exciting as, say, downtown Vancouver. Another big point I think is important is that Calgary is easy to get around with a car, though. This is definitely a car city. The geographic area of Calgary covers a massive area. And if you don't have a car, I don't think it'd be much fun living in this city. So if you come out here, definitely think about getting a car. And a big negative with living in Calgary, we have to talk about our weather. We're not the coldest or the hottest, but we're definitely one of the more unpredictable climates in Canada. It can be very hot and it can be very cold. And sometimes it happens in the same week. We just have, our weather's just all over the map, hot, cold, hot, cold. It can get down to minus 40 in the wintertime, and it can get up to maybe plus 35 in the summertime. So it just has a huge range, and it's just very unpredictable. The good thing about our weather, though, is during the winter, the cold weather is broken up by Chinooks. What that is warm air coming from the mountains. It rains on the BC side of the mountains. What's left over is the dry air coming down to the Alberta side, and it can raise the temperature from, say, minus 40 all the way to like plus 10. And this happens quite often during the winter, so it can be hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. So there are some breaks in the winter. And if you are moving here from Ontario or somewhere east of Saskatchewan, you might not realize how dry Alberta is. So I would say that, Vancouver has pleasant levels of humidity, and then Winnipeg and east can get downright muggy. It's very humid in those areas, but Calgary is extremely dry. And in the wintertime, your face will crack, you'll get nosebleeds, just extremely dry. And I would say one thing I don't like about our weather currently is that we're getting a lot of forest fire smoke every single year for the past 5 years. So obviously our forests they're a bit of a tinderbox at the moment. And we also get hailstorms in Calgary quite often. I've sold properties where the home was shredded by hail before possession took place. It can be very annoying. I've had hail damage to my car. And we also get tornadoes around Calgary and the area, more so towards Red Deer, I find, but they do happen around Calgary as well. And the last point about the weather, which I don't like, is that Calgary is at altitude. We're about 1 kilometer above sea level, so it gets cold at night, even in the dead of summer. So if you're on a patio with some friends, having some beers or whatever, you might want to bring a light jacket, even in the summertime, because it does get cold at night, and I absolutely hate that about living in Calgary. Now back to the positives, and one of the major benefits of living in Calgary is that it's great for outdoorsy people. Calgary is located in a very interesting geographic position where an hour from Calgary in each direction you can have badlands, prairies, foothills, and mountains, and it can be quite stunning, and that's why many movies are actually filmed around the Calgary area, just because the scenery is so, it just varies so much from just a short distance from the city. Now, the mountains are stunning, and I've been going my entire life, and I see something new each time I go. There are so many fun things to do, such as hiking, skiing, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, golf, cycling, rafting, skating, outdoor hockey, camping, and fishing. Some of the hot spots around here are Banff, Canmore, Lake Louise, and Kananaskis Country. We've got Dinosaur Provincial Park as well, and the Badlands. And Calgary itself is a nature lover's dream. We've got 2 rivers, a creek, a reservoir, and an endless number of parks throughout the city. There are multiple huge parks in Calgary, such as Nose Hill Park, Fish Creek Park, Bowness Park, North and South Glenmore Park, and everything along both river valleys. There are pathways that run the entire length of the city, which are perfect for running, walking, and cycling. And just looking at Calgary, I think going into the future, it's going to get better and better, and it truly will be one of the best cities in the world to live in. It's already one of the most multicultural cities in the world. I think our food scene, which used to be quite poor, is actually getting really good. So lots of good food options, lots of microbreweries in the city. Our ring road is finally complete. There's even talk of the C train going to the airport, and the Green Line LRT system is under construction right now as we speak, which will add probably 30 or 40 stations to the LRT system. And the new hockey arena and the new entertainment district is already under construction. And when it's complete, it will add a new element to the downtown portion of Calgary. I think it's going to be awesome. And we've already completed some very interesting projects in the city, like the new library, the National Music Center, the Science Center, the zoo is pretty cool, and the Calgary International Airport is always expanding, and it's fairly easy to get to, and it's a bit of a flight hub. It offers direct flights to most of the hotspots in North America, as well as direct flights to Europe and to Asia. So it's pretty convenient, and the airport is maybe 20 to 30 minutes from most areas of the city, so it's just easy to get to, and it's very convenient. Now, if we're talking about the benefits of living in Calgary, we have to mention the Calgary Stampede. It is the largest outdoor show on earth. Every single year, more than 1 million people attend the Stampede. It happens every July. It's basically like a 2-week party. The entire city shuts down, and it's a great time. You have to check it out if you are coming to Calgary. Now, I hope you make the move to Calgary. My name is Ryan Gillard at Real Broker, your Calgary Realtor. Please let me know in the comments what you like about Calgary, what you hate about the city. And again, if you are thinking of relocating, if you check out the pinned comment or the written description, I've got a buyer's guide, a seller's guide, and a relocation guide, all for free that you can download. If you are thinking of making the move, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'd love to help you out, and I'll see you on the next video.